So we finished with the word hakadosh, which was page 28 of the book. And honestly, that leaves us with only one more new word to learn in the song, in the prayer, and then we would know every word. But we can go back if you like a little bit. So
Well, I
when
have a
you were,
question.
sure,
On page 25, when I was doing the review,
yeah,
the second line, the second word.
so line, okay, so Baruch Adonai. So the hey with the
Oh,
yud.
that's not enough. Okay.
So
Thank
that,
you.
yes, that is how they abbreviate. One of the many ways Adonai is abbreviated. I think I was saying it is Hashem last week, but it's also Adonai. A lot of people, if they're not in a synagogue setting and they're not praying, will say it Hashem instead of Adonai. Jessica, you need to unmute. So, and then say something so I can just make sure I hear you.
Good afternoon.
Hi, good to see you.
Hi.
Okay. So, but that's an excellent question. And actually that's something that is going to come up at the beginning of the next unit, because the next thing we learn after we complete the song prayer, you know, Shalom Aleichem, the next thing we learn is the blessing over the candles, I believe. So Baruch Atah Adonai at the beginning of every single prayer. So it's going to keep coming up over and over. I think we learned the blessing over the candles and the blessing over the wine. So you're going to get a lot of practice with how Adonai shows up in a prayer. So that should help everyone quite a bit, right?
Yes. And the
Okay.
first word in line 7 on that page.
Also on page 25,
Yes.
Elyon.
Oh,
So
thank you.
tell me what's confusing about that word and we'll break it down.
Now that you say it, nothing.
Okay, because what you have here is an ayin. The first letter is an ayin, which is silent. Then you have the lamed. Then you have the yud. Right before you have the vav cholem. So the yud is going to sound like a Y right before you go into the O sound, Elyon, and then you have the last letter is the nun sofit.
Okay. We're great. I'm great.
Okay, good. Anyone else have specific questions or even questions that are more general? Y'all are good? All right. Well, those were good questions and good introductions to where we're going to go next. But so let's look at page 29 for our next word. And it's the first word of line 7.
Can everybody mute if you're not talking? I'm so sorry. There's noise in the background. It's hard to hear.
I can
sorry.
do it, actually. Okay. Okay. Now I'm not muted, right? You can still hear me. Okay, good. Okay, so so this is the last word we need for the entire prayer, and the word at the top of 29 is pronounced tsetchem. And the first letter is a samach, and it has the sound, I guess it's like TS. It's not something that comes up really in English. Okay, TZ is how they have it. Fine, good. I should keep reading down the page, but it's called a tzadi, or as I learned it, it's tzadik, but I think they now pronounce it tzadi. And other than that, I think we know all the letters in this word. Looking down on page 29, you know, it's going to review for us line 1. Hi, Rhoda. Let me just check you off before I keep going. Okay, Rhoda, we're on page 29. I'm going to unmute everyone because it's a little too quiet for me. So let's see if I can. Okay. So you know what? I don't think I can unmute you myself. You guys have to unmute yourselves. But it's freaky for me to have you all muted.
Okay.
It's too quiet. I feel like I'm teaching to no one. It's a little freaky. All right. So we have the tzadi. On line one, line one is really just the practice of tzaddik with the various vowels we have. So tzi, tse, 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 sa, sa, so, two, right? Okay, it's pretty straightforward. And then the second line is the first two sound the same, the tse, and then the tse with the aleph, because aleph has no sound of its own. Now, this is tseid, because that's a dalet, tseid. And this is tsech, because this is our chaf sofit, tsel, tsem. I'm mispronouncing this, I apologize, because it's hard to pronounce this. It's an A sound, so it's tsel, same, which is not a sound you have in Hebrew. So these are kind of silly practice ones. So we're gonna skip over that. I think they're only doing it because the word is tseitchem. So they're trying to give us this A over and over and over, but in odd combinations. So let's go down to line 4. Line 4, so we have the tse, 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 tse. Now here is the second half of the word, techem, techem. So, okay, the taf has that shva under it. And this shva is going to be that sound again, that short right? So it's techem. Tuchem, okay? And then when you put it together, you get say tuchem. Say tuchem. Okay? So now technically we know every word in this prayer. And are you guys comfortable with the sound of the tzadi, the ts sound?
Yeah.
Rhoda, you have a question.
Yeah, I'm not too sure which page you're on. I'm sorry, I missed the beginning.
Or on page 29.
29, okay. Thank you. Okay.
Right, and I'll go over this for you. So at the top of page 29 is our new word, tseitchem.
Okay.
Tseitchem. And so the tzadi, as it, and I didn't give you the example of mitzvah or tzedakah, but I assumed that you guys understood what this sound was. But the beauty of this now is we know how to pronounce, how to read in Hebrew every word in the prayer, Shalom Aleichem, which they've now reprinted for us on page 30. So I would like today to mostly have you guys read this, and I will help you. We can sing if you want, but I was thinking we would just read, that you've been singing it yourself over and over and over. And now we can really read line by line the entire prayer, which is in the box on page 30. Is that a good idea for everybody? Okay. Okay. Anita, you are muted.
Yeah? No, I'm
No,
not.
you're not. I apologize. No, you're not. I'm looking at the wrong line here. I apologize. Sorry. My fault. Okay. All right. So if you don't, I'm just going to call on you guys. And if you would, I'd like you to read, starting with line 1. Each of you will read one line. Is that okay? If you don't want to, then I'll skip you, but I really think you should try. You can't keep saying no forever. Okay, I'm not going to start. I tell you what, I'm going to start in the middle of my boxes. Anita, are you comfortable reading line 1?
Yes.
Okay,
Shalom Aleichem Malachi Hashal Hasharit Malachi El Yon.
good. Now, the only thing, so I know you're doing it the way you sing it. And the third word, malachi.
Malachi.
Okay, good. I'm not sure, maybe I misheard you, or maybe there was a glitch in our connection, but that's very good. Okay. Laura, are you comfortable reading line 2?
Yes. Mi melech, malachi, hamlachim, hakadosh, baruch hu.
Very nice, really nice. Okay. Linda, are you comfortable reading line 3?
Sure. Baruch Hem Lashalom Malahem
Okay.
Malahe Hashalom Malahe El Yom.
Very nice. Okay. Cheryl, will you read line 4?
Me Melech Malachi Ha Malachim Ha Ka Rosh
Dosh.
Akadosh. Yeah, I see that. Hakadosh Baruch
Mhm.
Baruch
Yep.
Hu.
Perfect. Excellent. You guys have been practicing.
Baruch Hu.
Baruch Hu, that's right. Fran, will you read line 5?
Baruchuni la shalom malacheini ha shalom malachein chi elyon.
Okay, so the one word, you had it twice, malache. Malache. It sounded like you added a letter to it. I wasn't
The
sure.
yud without the yud.
The yud just makes the che just that way. It doesn't really add any extra sound to it. Okay.
Thank you.
Rhoda, will you read line 6?
Yes, mi melech, malachi, hamalachim,
Yep.
hakadosh baruch hu.
Perfect. Okay. Jessica, you got the newest word. Are you okay with line 7?
Okay, say
Tzeitzchem.
say to him, La Shalom, Malachi, Hashalom,
Mhm.
Malachi,
Elyon.
Elyum.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay. Elisa, do you want to read or not?
I'll give it a shot.
Okay.
Mi melech malachi hamlachim ha kadosh baruch hu.
Beautiful.
It's that D. It's that D and the R. that
Right.
Yeah,
You're
I
not-
keep writing them down.
I was
It's
gonna
the
say, I
words
know
I'm
you're not,
actually-
you're not the only one. You're not the only one who's struggling over that, but you guys are getting it. And that's why last week we spent a lot of time looking at the Dalet versus the Resh. Because the way they're written, and it's small here, admittedly, there isn't a lot of difference in how they're written, but they're obviously, one is a D sound and one is an R sound.
Rachel,
So, yes.
always for the resh, if you kind of imagine that it's rounded, that might help.
That's
It's
a good point.
a hint compared to the Dalet, but
You're
just think rounded.
That's a good point. You're absolutely right.
I'm saying the Dalet has a dollop in the corner,
Okay, these are
Right.
good.
like no other.
Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna send you, can you see this? It's because of my background. I'm gonna send you this chart. Oh, sorry, it's not really here. If I hold it back here, now you can see it. It's a chart of the letters. And I will include it in the homework. And it's is very clear. These letters are written really nicely. I didn't send it earlier because it also has them written in script, you know, how you would handwrite them. And I didn't want you looking at that. I didn't want you confusing anything.
You know, this morning I went online at Google Images and I printed out a few pages like you would give a child who's learning the Hebrew alphabet. It looks like the placemats we used to have.
Sure, we
for
had them too.
exactly what you're doing. It's so
Yeah,
helpful.
so I mean, if you think the one you found is better than this one, you can share it with us, but I'm gonna send this one because this was shared with me by one of the other teachers and I trust her, and I looked at a lot of other ones online and I actually like the way these are so clearly printed. They have a little black outline with red inside. That's a very good one. Oh, Fran, that's a really good one.
And then that actually has vowels.
Where did you get that?
It's,
A book.
yeah. Do
Okay.
you want me to send that?
That would be really helpful if you could scan it and send that to everyone. You know, I can send out the homework. You can reply all and attach that. And that would be really great for everybody. Those are really nice and big. So I unfortunately don't have any Hebrew primers in the house. You know, my kids are in their upper 20s and that's very good too. There you go. And I don't have any of my own.
Right, Rachel?
Yeah.
I have a question. She can't reply all. She's gonna have to forward it.
I'm sorry?
She's gonna have to forward it to all. Replying all would not send forth an attachment. Oh, I know what you mean. I
You
take
could
that back. I'm
attach it. You
sorry.
could.
Right. She would have to attach it again.
You
I'm
would have to
thinking that's
attach
not-
it.
Right.
Yeah,
Sorry,
keep it
sorry.
that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Okay, so do you want to read through this another time? I'll ask people for different lines, or do you feel comfortable and we should move on to something new?
I think we're comfortable. Think we're comfortable.
Okay, if you guys are good, we're gonna move on, okay? Okay. We're gonna go to page 32. So this, I was saying this before everyone got on, I think, but so this is the introduction to every prayer we all will ever do. Baruch atah Adonai. This is the target for us for this next section. And the first letter that they want to make a point, because we know the word Baruch. Atah, the difference here is that there's a dot in the taf. And I cannot explain to you why there's a dot in this taf and there wasn't a dot in the previous taf. I apologize, but when I was learning Hebrew, with and without the dot made a very big difference. It was pronounced differently. They don't do that anymore, but apparently there are conventions with how you write it and whether you use the dot or not. And I'm sorry, but I'm not educated enough in the Hebrew language to know the answer to that. So for your purposes, all you need to know is whether you see a dot in that tuf or you don't, it sounds exactly the same and it's just the T sound.
My husband said that it used to be two different letters.
That's right. And that's how I learned it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The tuf and the suf.
Yes,
One was
right.
an S sound, one was a T sound. But they
Right.
did away with that. They modernized the
Right.
language. And honestly, it would always be European grandparents who made that big distinction. And unfortunately, I think they no longer are alive.
Yeah.
So it's really, for our purposes, this will always sound like a T. And in Israel, it will only be a T. Modern Hebrew, it's only a T. So let's practice. Well, so let's move on a minute. So let's go down to the middle box, the second box in the middle of the page of page 32. You all see the hey? So the reason that they're having us focus on the hey again is that previously the hey always had an H sound to it. Where it was in the words we learned, it needed to have a sound, a letter sound, and the sound was H. Now, the words we're going to learn, it's going to be at the end of the word. So if you look at the top of the page, the word atah, the middle word there of our target words, Baruch atah Adonai, you see the hey is at the end of the word and it's silent. When the hey is at the end of the word here, it is silent. So that's why they're kind of putting it in the box and bringing it up a second time for us. But for the most part, this is not new to you. You know these letters, okay? So I want to skip down to, if you don't mind, well, all right, we won't skip so far. Let's look at line 3 on page 32. I'm going to read it for you just so you hear it read. It's shabbat, notain, ot, he, oto, otanu. Okay, it's not a sentence, it's just a bunch of words, okay? I'm gonna ask, let's see. I'm sorry, but I don't remember, the woman on the phone, you're still muted. I don't know if you know how to unmute. I'm sorry, but, so, who's on the phone? Paula, you're on the phone, right? Your hand is up, but you're not unmuted. Perhaps, is it *6 to unmute? Does anyone know exactly? I can't remember.
I don't know.
There you go. Now you're unmuted.
Now I'm unmuted. Okay, I kept hitting *6,
Yeah.
and I'm in the sun, so it's
Okay, all right. You haven't had a chance to read yet. Will you read for us page 32, line 3?
page 32, line 3. Let's see. Shabbat, notain, ot, he,
Yes,
oto,
yes.
otanu.
Otanu. Very good. That was excellent. Yes, that's exactly right. All right, I'm going to read line 4, and then I'm going to ask one of you to read it. Tamid, ner, tamid, Torat, el, tachlit. El, tachlit. Okay. All right. So, I'm just gonna. Cheryl, did you read for us already? I think you did. Did you?
I did. Mhm.
You did. Okay. Well, Laura, how about you? If you would read line 4.
Okay, I'm gonna need some help.
It's okay. I feel like I haven't called on you much because you weren't here for so many sessions. So
Yeah.
now you're like, I know you, I see you, you read beautifully. I'm giving you a shot.
Thank you. Hamid,
Tamid. This is the T, the ta.
Tamid,
Perfect.
Nar,
Nair.
Nair, Tamid.
Yeah.
Um,
All right. Everyone quiet except Laura, please. So that's a t again. No, toe.
Toe, rate.
Rot. I think that's a single line at the underneath.
Okay. To rot, and then ale,
Yes.
and then take
Ta.
ta lint.
So since there's nothing under the second letter there, the chaf, tach lit.
Tach licht.
Right.
Okay.
So so you did very well. I think what they were trying to do here was confuse us a little bit with the fourth word, Torat, because the first letter has the dot in it and the second letter doesn't, but it's still the same T sound, right? That's kind of the point of this lesson.
Does anybody have a way of remembering the tav is a T sound? Because I look at that and it's not coming quickly enough to me for memorization purposes. Is there something cute about that letter that helps you remember it's a T?
I could
No.
say, I do, if you say it has a little toe at the bottom.
That's a good idea. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, that'll help.
Okay.
But somebody said that the dalet had a dollop on top, but But
So,
it looks like an R to me.
That's what I said. It's like an R with a dollop in the corner.
okay, so yeah,
Is that-
let's look at the first word in line 4, which is tamid. Okay.
Tamid.
Tamid.
Oh,
So it
oh,
ends in the
tamid.
dalid, right? So you see that dalid?
Now I see the dollar, yeah.
Okay, and the next word is ner, and it has the resh.
Oh,
Okay,
so the line is longer. The top line is longer without the dollop.
well, I mean, so are you guys looking at the larger printout rather than the original one I sent you? The blown up one?
Yes,
Yes.
It's okay. But
yes.
so the way with the resh, I like the rounded idea because the resh goes, from the upper left with that little swoop in the top, it goes down and it curves around and goes straight down vertically, right? It's got the horizontal with the teeniest little scoop in the top left corner, goes straight across and it rounds down and goes down vertically. That's a resh. When you look at the dalet, I see the dalet as 2 lines. You've got the horizontal line, which has that same top little pointy thing in the upper left corner, and it goes over to the right, and it has a rounded stopping point. And then it has the vertical piece that connects to it. That is a separate, I see it as a separate piece. So
The
it's
ra-
like,
The
whereas the
ra-
resh is completely continuous.
the resh is something you could make without lifting your pen. Or
Exactly, precisely. That's the point I'm making. I don't know if that's going to help you in recognizing them, but that's the reality of how the letters are created, okay? Interestingly, so for the letter that we just learned today, the taf, which is the T sound, the letter in the box at the top, you see it's kind of like it starts out as a resh, and then they connect that other foot part, the knee and the foot on the left side. Does it look like a resh to you with a
Yes.
leg coming down?
Mhm.
That's how I see it.
Yeah.
So
I like what someone just said about the toe, because when if I'm trying to read, I want things really quick, right? So that's got a toe. I'll remember that T.
Okay, all right.
Any little thing that will help you recognize, because if you stop and you think too much when you're reading, you lose track of the letter you just read.
That's probably correct. So, all right, so let's go down to line 5. Okay. Rita, will you read line 5? You won't read. You have to read today. I'm not going to let you off the hook. I can't hear you. You're muted.
If you're asking me to read, I'm gonna leave.
I'm sorry. Really?
Yeah, I haven't been well enough to do all the studying. And
Okay.
I'm following through when we're reading it. But I
Okay.
don't feel comfortable enough to read out loud.
All
And
right, I'm
that's the way
sorry, I
I've been
don't-
all my life when it comes to foreign languages.
Okay, I get it. I'm sorry. I thought you were just being coy, but if you don't feel prepared,
Right,
that's,
no.
I'm not going to embarrass you.
I
apologize.
recognize it when we're reading it, but to do it myself, no.
Okay, all right. But you can mute yourself and read out loud along with somebody, and that
Good.
might be a good
That's,
practice.
yeah, that would help. Thank you.
Okay, do that then.
Thank you.
Okay, so line 5. Rhoda, are you comfortable reading line 5?
Yes.
Okay,
Hashabbat, Hakadosh, Hashalom, Hasharet, who?
perfect. Really beautiful. I loved it.
Thank you.
Okay. Line 6. Linda?
Elohim. Elohim. Eloheinu.
Perfect.
Elohim.
Beautiful. Now, this is a good example. These words come up in prayers constantly, some version of Elohim. And these are some of the versions: Elohim, Eloheinu, Elohechem. We're going to keep seeing this as we learn more prayers, right? One after the next. This is a really good example. Line 7 is, well, let's go for it. What do we got to lose? Anita, can you do
I don't know.
7?
I don't think so.
No? Okay, no problem. Cheryl, you want to give it a go?
HaTorah,
Yeah,
Ha, Haya,
yeah, although I think what they're doing here is, this is going to look a lot like Adonai coming up, but you're right to pronounce it Haya. That's how it is pronounced right here, okay?
No, no, Tech,
Tain, that's a nun sofit, that last letter.
Hatin,
No tain,
no Tain, HaTorah.
exactly, no tain hato ra. Again, this is a phrase that's come up in prayers. We're going to see it more as we go along, but I'm sure you recognize the sound. No tain hato ra. Okay. Line 8. Jessica?
Sorry. Ata Baruch Ata
Yep.
Baruch Ata Hash Adonai.
Adonai, exactly. Baruch atah Adonai.
I
So,
don't know.
right. So actually what I said up here with the hey, yud, hey, it's really gonna, when it comes up as Adonai, it's gonna be just yuds, I think. Or a hey and a yud, not the second hey. So we'll, because here they have it, just the hey and the yud. So, but exactly. And I think what's going to happen with you all, that once we get into the blessings and you just start to see words, and you know in your head, it has to be Baruch atah Adonai. You're going to get to that third word, and you're going to say, it has to be Adonai, and you're just going to start recognizing it as Adonai.
I
Okay,
think in Sim Shalom, Adonai is usually like 2 apostrophes.
right, two
Because I couldn't
yuds.
read Hebrew, but I could always follow along where we were in the prayer
Exactly,
by
it's the
looking
two,
for that.
that's what I was saying, it's 2 yuds, exactly. And here they're using the hey and the yud. So it comes up, that's kind of my point, is off the top of my head, I can't remember all the different ways in the various books they abbreviate Adonai. It's never spelled out in a way that you're going to sound out the word, the letters, and the letters will sound into Adonai. It's just never written that way. So we're going to get used to recognizing the various abbreviations that they use. And this book, I assume, is going to continue to use 1, if not only 2, I hope. But we'll, I didn't read that far ahead to double check. But so when we look at line 9, here we have Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, right? So, let's see. Fran, does that come easily to you, line 9?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam.
Perfect, perfect. So this is going to be familiar to all of you. So if anyone have any questions? Okay. So page 33 is another wonderful review, everything in one place. The only thing they're adding, obviously, I think, is the tzadi, because I believe, we had the same bigger version of this a few pages back on page 31. Well, that's the alphabetical summary. Where I'm trying to find, here it is, 25 and 26 last time is where I told you to kind of focus. I thought it was a great review. And we went through and I named all of the vowels for you that were in the box on page 25. This is the same. They just add the tzadi. They also add the taf with the dot in it. So, all right, do you want me to go over? I'm happy to go over the boxes on page 33. Let's go over them. Okay, we're going to go every letter in this box and every vowel in this box. I think that would be helpful to all of you. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, give me 1 second while I organize my pages, just for my own. This is not the page I want. I apologize. Okay, so the first letter, so the top box, first letter is an aleph, followed by an ayin. Both of those are silent letters. They don't have sounds of their own. Followed by a hey, which we learned today. At the beginning of the word sounds like an H, but at the end of the word is silent. We have the yud, which sometimes the yud acts as a vowel, but sometimes when it acts as a consonant, it sounds like a Y. The next letter is a chaf. The next letter is a chaf sofit.
You know what time it is? I can't. Oh.
Next letter is the mem, followed by the mem sofit. Next letter is a nun, followed by the nun sofit. The next is the bet, followed then the lamed, and then the kaf. All right, so any questions on how any of these letters sound? Okay, good. All right, now here, the first letter in the middle box is the resh. Okay, this is the one that just curves as it goes down and around the corner. Sounds like an R, the resh. Then we have the shin with the dot on the upper right side. So she is always right. That's our little mnemonic for the shin. The dot is on the upper right. We are going to come along in a few lessons where the dot is going to be on the left. It's going to sound different, but we haven't gotten to that yet. So this is the shin. It sounds like the SH. Here's the new letter that we just learned, the tuf with the dot inside and the toe on the lower left. And the same letter is next to it, the tuf with no dot. Sounds exactly the same, still sounds like a T. Here is that dalet, sounds like a D. Followed by
The cough again.
the kaf, right? I don't know why they repeated it for us. I was just double checking, like same letter, they just, nothing new or changed in that letter. Still a kaf, sounds like a K. And then the new letter tzadi, the TZ, tzadi. And then we have all our vowels on the bottom. So do you want me to name them or just tell you the sounds? Sounds. Okay, all right. So the first one is the one dot. It sounds like a double E, long E sound. The next one with the yud, it's so it would have the dot would be under the consonant and then the yud following sounds exactly the same. Long E sound. The two dots sound like an A, long A sound. And again, the two dots under the consonant with the yud following doesn't change the sound, still that long A sound, nothing changes. The three dots, the eh. A single line is a ah. And then the small T sounds exactly the same. It's still an ah. They look different, but they sound exactly the same, whether it's the one line, the horizontal, or the small T, identical sounds. This next one, the dot above, we haven't had this very much in words, but that's O. So this is, I was showing you before, pat someone on the O, pat them on the head. And with the vav and the dot over it, still the O sound, identical. So when you have the single dot, it's going to be the upper left corner following a letter. So you could have a mem and then a dot, it would sound like mo. You could have a lamed and a dot, it would sound like lo. Okay? But depending on how the word is spelled, sometimes there's the vav with the dot over it. It's still just an O. Here, you have the vav with the dot in the middle. And this is where I say punching you in the stomach. It's an oo sound. And it sounds exactly the same when you have the three dots below the consonant going from upper left to lower right. Those three dots sound oo again. Exactly the same sound, oo. And the last vowel here is the no vowel. It's called a shva. It's two dots, one on top of the other, and it signifies no vowel. However, we have learned that it has that very short sound. And that's in the next lesson is where they start getting into the peculiarities of this vowel, the shva. Okay, and there's a lot of peculiarities of this vowel. But for now, you've learned it as this short okay? All right.
Thank you. That was super helpful.
You're very welcome. Okay, so let's look at page 34. Now, the target on page 34 is the blessing over the candles for Shabbat. So what is in the box, I'm going to read to you, okay? You all follow along with me? You know, I think we have background noise from your phone. I don't know if you're in a public place, or whether it's wind noise or something, but that's where we're getting background noise. That's quieter. Okay. All right. So I'm going to read what's in the box on the top of page 34 slowly, and I'd like you to follow. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
What's that Vitsivanu business?
What do you mean?
Where'd you get the V from?
Oh, well, that's the Vav. So this Vav, so it's the fourth word in the second line, that first letter is a Vav. So we learned this as a vowel, but it's also a consonant. We're going to get to that. Well, I think we did get to that. So the first letter is a Vav, then a Tzadi, then a Vav, then a Nun,
Vitsivanu.
Vitsivanu. So,
Vanu.
right. So this is where in this one word, you bring up a good point, Cheryl. In this one word, you have the Vav as a consonant, and then a consonant again, and then as a vowel as the last letter of the word. Because it's the sharuk, the Vav with the dot in the middle, it's turned itself into a vowel. It sounds like ooh there. But at the beginning of the word, it has no dot, either on the top or in the middle. It has the shva underneath, that's the v sound. Vtsi, and then the third letter, it's the vav again with the a under it, vtsivanu. Okay? So we got ahead of ourselves, but I never mind that. But that's one of those idiosyncratic things of some of the letters in Hebrew, masquerading as a vowel, even though it started out as a consonant. All right, so this is all about the shva. Oh my goodness, I think I don't want to try to get into all the explanations of the shva. They're just two simple rules that I think will get us through this book. And so the first one is so we all know what the shva is, right? There's two dots underneath a letter. The vowel is called a shva. It's two dots. And when it occurs at the beginning of the word, it's sounded. And it has that sound that we've been coming up with, okay? So like if you look at line 1 on page 34, bracha, that word is bracha. It's not bracha, it's bracha. So it has that little under the bet. I know it's confusing, but let's look at the, anyway, all right. So it sounded the shva has that short sound when it's at the beginning of a word. When it's at the end of a word, the same shva, when it's at the end of the word, like look at the word baruch, which is the first word in the box at the top of page 34. There's a shva in the chaf sofit. It has no sound at all. It symbolizes a no vowel, baruch. All we're getting there is the ch, that guttural sound of the chaf sofit with no vowel. So the rule I'm trying to impart to you is if you see the shva at the beginning of the word, give it a short If you see it at the end of the word, ignore it. It has no sound. We'll get it as we practice more and more. I mean, there are some more complicated rules, which I think I mentioned in passing, has to do with when it's in the middle of the word and it denotes where one syllable ends and another syllable begins and how it's pronounced. It gets the sound again as the syllable is beginning. And it has to do with helping you understand where you put the emphasis on which syllable in the word. And in Hebrew, you tend to put the emphasis on the latter syllable, not the beginning. So you don't say, I need an example of a word. You say asher, not asher. You say Eloheinu, the emphasis is on the hey, right? Eloheinu, you don't say Eloheinu. So you'll learn as you start to feel the words, you know these words because you've been saying them. And as you see them, I think you'll realize your head knows how to pronounce that word, regardless of that shva. And it'll just come with practice. Yes.
Can I ask a question about the V? So
Yes.
the V, the vav,
The vav.
if it's got the dot on top, you're patting them on the head, O.
Yep.
If it has the dot in the middle, it's U.
Yep.
And if it has no dot, it's V. It's the
Precisely.
exact same letter. Okay. And
Exactly.
so and what happens will it ever have a dot on top and in the middle, or a dot on top or in the middle, and also have a vowel under it?
No.
So it either has a dot in the middle or a dot on top. It will not have an additional vowel beneath it. And if it does, then if there's no dot in the upper part, then we know it's a V and we use the vowel underneath. I hope I asked that clearly. Okay.
That's exactly correct. So, right.
But I don't remember learning the V. Did we learn the V?
Well,
It's a V.
Just
We learned the V?
we did learn it. We did because, but we may have only learned it as a vowel, not as a consonant. I apologize for not really. We learned it as the O in shalom. We learned it.
You just said it in this prayer was the first time I remember seeing it as a V. And so that's why I went back to look at the vowels just now.
Yeah, and I think that's right, because here on page 35 is when they introduce it as the V by itself. So I apologize that the letter is Vav, and I think I explained that it can be a consonant and a vowel, but we hadn't seen it standing on its own as a vowel. This is the first time we see it acting as a consonant, excuse me. We've always been using it up until now as a vowel.
That's when you said Vitsivanu was
Right.
the time we saw it.
That's
Okay.
exactly right. That's exactly right. So, so I think we should end with this today. I don't think because it's a lot going on. But yes, so if we look at page 35, I don't know if you guys have turned the page. But right there, this whole thing is really an example of the Vav that I already explained. But and that Cheryl really so correctly brought us to pay attention to. And this is a really good word to learn this rule from, because you have the first Vav, which has the two dots under it, that tells you it has no vowel. It's only going to sound like a V. Then the second time it appears, the middle letter, it has the little T under it, which sounds like ah, it's going to sound like a V with a ah, va. But then the last time it appears at the end of the word is when it has the dot in the middle and we need it to sound like ooh. And the V sound goes away entirely. You ignore that it's a V and you only say the ooh. Okay?
Okay.
So
Okay.
this word is vitsivanu. I know this is complicated.
Got it.
Okay?
Yep.
All right. So, do you need me to, on a homework page, sort of type up our equivalent of this page 33 box with, I don't know, I can name the letters, I can put the sounds to the letters and the vowels. I'm not really, you probably took notes on that, but do you want me to send you kind of my version of that? Okay, I will do that. I will type that up, and I probably won't get it to you till Sunday, but that's okay. So for homework, what I would really like you to do is practice reading Shalom Aleichem without singing it. In the new box on page 30, reading it, no transliteration, no singing, okay? If you get stumped, you can sing in your head, you can stop yourself and just sing, but what I want you to be able to do is read it fluently without singing it. So however you get yourself there is fine, but your goal is to be able to read it fluently, no singing when we start class next week. Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay, and then what you can also do, and maybe I'll include this in the homework, is you probably already do this, which is say the blessing for the Shabbat candles weekly, but I want you to practice the blessing for the Shabbat candles because we are going to be jumping into learning to read that when we start class next week. So Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. So you know some of these words. You know Baruch atah Adonai. I think you know Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu. You know a lot of these words. You know almost all.
What page you on?
I'm on page 34. The box on the top of page 34. So,
I feel like the review this today, I finally feel like it's clicking. I need to have the chart next to me with the letters.
okay,
But when we were saying the prayers instead of singing it, I actually felt like I could read it.
perfect.
It was so
Wonderful.
helpful. Thank you.
Well, I'm happy. I'm so glad. So I will include the stuff about the Vav in my homework notes for the word Vitzivanu, obviously, okay? And if I can think, I'm not going to go too much into the Shava. I might type up 2 sentences about the Shva, but let me think about it. I don't want to overwhelm you with what's going on with the Shva. Okay?
Okay.
So should we practice 35, reading all the words?
Sure, if you'd like. I think the only one that's new is the Vitzivanu. So
Okay.
sure, absolutely.
Okay.
That's fine. I don't want to overwhelm you though. If you're feeling like you just are, it's too much, then keep reading Shalom Aleichem, read the prayer, read the prayer, read the prayer, and repeat the blessing for the Shabbat candles. Okay?
Okay.
So we do have class next Friday, but not in 2 weeks because of Pesach, which some of us are trying not to focus on too soon. I hate focusing on Pesach too early. It just makes me feel like the holiday is twice as long as it is. So, all right, ladies, thank you so much. You
Thank
guys
you,
are really
Rachel.
doing beautifully.
Thank
You're
you
really
very
doing
much.
great.
Thank you.
What
Thank
I
you.
have found after knowing and singing the songs and the prayers by rote, reading them, I get a much better pronunciation
Precisely.
than I have.
But honestly, all of you are pronouncing things really well and doing really well. Rita, you just have to trust yourself.
That's
Okay? You're doing fine.
Honestly, I do have to practice more, but I've been very busy and I haven't had really time to focus as much as I would like to on the homework.
Okay. All right.
Thank
Well,
you.
don't-
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right,
Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom.
shalom.
Thank you.
Shabbat
Shabbat.
shalom.
Rachel,
Okay.
Rachel, don't get me wrong. I am finding this very helpful. I saved the links to the YouTube.
Good.
And it definitely is helping me,
Good.
recognize, so that when I do say the words of the prayer, like I said, yeah, my brain does not hold on to it fast enough. That's the whole thing.
I get it. I get it. But so I think it's saying it over and over while you're looking at it and covering it up, moving on, coming back. I have family members also who anything other than English is a big challenge. He doesn't hear it the same. I have some family members who 6 language is not a problem. Other family members,
Right.
English is the only one that sounds right. The rest sound like the letters are just not, so they're weird, they're, whatever, can't replicate what someone else is saying in that language. And it just takes A, practice, 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 and B, confidence. Because I know you can sing it. And if you can
Yeah.
sing it, you can say it,
Right.
which is,
But
that's
I
kind of,
have to recognize it.
well,
And,
that's right,
Yeah.
right.
right.
So,
Tomorrow morning, my friend's son is being bar mitzvahed, and I'm going to watch by Zoom, but I'm going to have my book open. And for the first time, I think I'm going to be able to follow along in Hebrew. Even if I don't have all the right words, I'll know enough of it that I
you'll
don't have to
recognize
skip
enough
to
letters,
Adonai.
right?
Yeah,
The
I'm gonna try
letters
to
will
do
get
it.
you there, exactly.
Yeah, figure even with transliteration, last Saturday at services, I was called on to read something in transliteration. And I always tell
Hi,
the guys,
Rachel, thank you.
when I always
Hi,
tell the
Joe.
guys, I'm not crazy about transliteration, but I can hear, I can read, and when I read it, it sounds right. So as I said to him, how did I sound? He said, you did a good job.
And I hate transliteration. I cannot, because I know the Hebrew, I find the
Right.
transliteration, like that combination of letters in English doesn't make any sense to
Right.
me.
Right.
So I have to think about what prayer is this supposed to be before I can get there.
But and what I had to do wasn't, it was a prayer that was repeated several times before I had to say it. So by the time I read it, I remembered it and I sort of knew I was saying it the right way, but it was
Yeah.
in transliteration. It wasn't in Hebrew.
Right. And you're learning to get past that. I mean, in our book, we're done with the transliteration. It won't appear any longer. So, and I'm not going to put it in my homework notes. So, but on the other hand, you have, as you point out, you have the YouTube to go back to practice some of it. And also I think the chart of the letters is going to help you. So we'll put that together and you'll have it for reference.
And when I go to
Goodbye.
services now,
Hi, Linda.
I do try to read, but I
They're moving at a fast pace.
recognize letters, so that when it's being said, it's oh, we did that one in class. We did that one in class.
But they're also going at a pretty good clip.
Yes,
They're
yes.
going pretty fast.
And it
And
makes
depending
Go ahead.
depending on who's saying it, they might mispronounce it, they might
That's
slur
true.
it. It's challenging.
That is true. And as I say, I did well in college in Spanish, but I did better in written tests. When I used to have to speak out loud, I would freeze. I mean, I would do it, but I would freeze. So I did very well in written tests. But unlike my mother, who was a good language person, I took after my father. I'm better in math and accounting and those kinds of things.
And I didn't appreciate that until I now have one of my kids, he's a auditory learner. Oh my God, what he as opposed to, what he hears, he can absolutely spit back out when it comes to language.
Right.
and other family members, you say it, you know, like ordering a bottle of wine at a restaurant, completely can't say the names of French wines or German wines or, you know, stuff like that. So it is, I think there is some brain function that
Definitely.
some of us are just, we have it, some don't.
Definitely.
But I believe you can learn it enough because you already know how to say these words.
Right.
Because you like to say them as you pray, you know them.
And some of the prayers, some of the songs, you know, growing up, I didn't go to Hebrew school. And even now, you learn it by rote.
Right.
And you're hearing it. So you can, you know, you can,
And-
like Shalom Aleichem, it's a good example.
Exactly. And that's, you know, this book was written for adult learners. That was the concept behind the gentleman who wrote this book,
He wrote
literally
another-
like 30
Right.
years ago.
He wrote another one, I can't remember, that it's focused on one of the Saturday prayers.
Right. Well, it's the follow-up book to this book.
Right.
And every teacher I know who has tried to use it says it's terrible.
Is it really? Okay.
Yeah. So we're not using it.
Good. Okay.
The advanced class or the advanced beginner class, they did away with it because they all agreed it was terrible.
Good.
No.
Okay.
So he had a hit with the first one, but nobody likes the second one. So
Right. Okay. Thank you, Rachel. I appreciate
my
it.
pleasure.
I
Have a great
appreciate
week,
the-
and I'll see you next Friday.
Yes, you will. Thank you. Have a
All
good week. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.